Everybody, it seems, has a tablet on board their boat. At least one, often two, three, four. Okay, they're useful for navigation, for trip planning, reading, and more. But how do you keep this really vital piece of equipment dry and working in the wet cockpit? Hi there. I'm Carolyn Sherlock, and on this episode of the Boat Galley podcast, I'll share a terrific waterproof tablet case from Yugo. Never worry about keeping your tablet dry again. Now, you might be familiar with using your iPad for navigation, but did you know that all of our cruising guides are available as PDFs? And they are perfect on a tablet. Since ours are quick reference tables, you're not trying to read through pages of text just to find whatever it is you need. Nope, you just go to the right section and then down in the appropriate column to find the best location for your purposes. And since the cruising guide is a PDF, there's no shipping. You can get it immediately. If you're cruising the East Coast of the US, be sure to check them out with the link in the show notes. The ICW, Bahamas, Florida Keys, Gulf Coast, and most recently, the Chesapeake Bay. But seriously, if you're going to use your tablet, whether it's for a navigation app like Aquamaps, Navionics, whatever, or for our PDFs, you need to have a truly waterproof case. Several functions are critically important. You've got to be able to use the tablet without taking it out of the case. It cannot overheat. It's got to be able to charge while still being watertight. And it's got to be really and truly waterproof, even in torrential rain or if a wave soaks the cockpit. My tablet I've used for years for our primary navigation. I like it better than what's on the Garmin chart plotter. As a result, I'm always looking for the best case. Now, I also use that same case when I'm taking my iPad to shore. I want it to float if I accidentally drop it in the water when I'm going for the dinghy to dock, and it's got to be easy to carry. The best one, hands down, I've tried a bunch of them. The best one that I have found, hands down, is the YugoWare waterproof tablet case. The women at Yugo, Melanie and Vicky, they worked on this for over a year before they actually brought it to market back in, I think it was 2020. I had one of their phone cases for about 3 years before that. Loved it, particularly when it saved my rather expensive phone when I accidentally fell from the dinghy into the water going to the dock. That was not a good day. Highly, highly recommend it. My tablet's 100% functional in the Yugo case. Years ago, I grabbed one at the Annapolis Boat Show when they were very first available. Put to use the same day in my booth. We were seeing how well it really worked. We were running all the booth transactions through that iPad. It worked perfectly for people to sign the credit card transactions on screen. No fear of anything getting spilled on it. Next day, it rained. Again, no problem with Yugo protecting the tech. Well, still at the boat show that year, I guess it was 2021, a couple days later, I stopped by the booth, talked a bit longer to Vicky since she wasn't quite so slammed right then. She said, I want to show you something. She proceeded to put her mini laptop and the iPad they were using to run the booth in her tablet case, along with all of her notes and papers from the show. She zipped it up tightly, double-checked it. Then she walked me to the edge of the dock, threw the whole case in the water. It floated despite the weight of everything in it. And we chatted for several minutes there with it just staying in the water. She said she had no worries about it seeping in. Then she finally pulled the case out, wiped it off, opened the zipper. There wasn't a drop of water inside, and all of her devices worked perfectly. To me, that says a ton that they were willing to demonstrate all their booth electronics inside. They had no backups. Everything was in there. I wasn't quite willing to demonstrate to that extent with my own booth electronics. Key features that I really like about it is my iPad is fully functional while it's in the case. Any device in the case still pairs to Bluetooth devices outside it. So you can have earpods or something like that, earbuds. My iPad connects perfectly to Wi-Fi while it's in the case. I can put an external battery and a cord into the case and charge my iPad. There's plenty of room for the cord to still be plugged in. Now, quick note, if you pass the cord outside the case by not closing the zipper completely and trying to plug it into the wall or something, the case will not be totally waterproof. I really recommend using an external battery if you are going to be in a potentially wet environment. There's a special heat-absorbing material that the case is made out of. Keeps my iPad from overheating even with the zipper totally closed. Previous cases that I had used for my iPad all had my iPad overheating within a few hours. It's a real problem when you're relying on it for navigation. I also like, as I said before, the fact that the case will float with a full load of tech. For me, that's 2 iPads, 2 phones, and an external battery. It's got a shoulder strap and also a hand strap on the back. I found that I use that hand strap frequently when I'm standing at the wheel and looking at navigation on the iPad inside. There's also pockets inside for money and credit cards, plus enough room for keys, lip balm, other small items. I have had absolutely no worries and no actual problems using my iPad in the cockpit, even in pretty snotty weather. And dinghy trips with it don't worry me at all. One thing, be sure to periodically use a dab of the included zipper lube, which makes it easier to zip the case up tightly. The last quarter inch is really critical to fully lock out water and sand. You want to be sure to get it fully locked, and it takes a little extra tug. There's a link in the show notes to buy the Yugo waterproof tablet case. I'm going to say, yeah, it does cost a little bit, but when you consider the cost of your tech or the problems with having something suddenly go down that you're using for navigation, it really is a minor deal. Thank you so much. This is it for this episode of the Boat Galley Podcast, and I hope you've learned something. Be sure to tell friends about us and subscribe if you haven't already. You don't want to miss an episode.